Good evening, everyone. It's Jeanette Martin, brand ambassador for JD Farms Gourmet Turkey Products, coming to you live from my own home kitchen in South Langley. And I am so excited to share tonight's recipe with you. In the description, you would have saw it said Mom's Meatloaf recipe with a twist. And you know what? Sometimes you want to give credibility and providence to some family recipes. Well, this book is from London, Ontario, favorite recipes of the Royal Canadian Legion. My mom and dad were members, as were my grandparents. This is from 1972. And in here, my mom has got published her meatloaf recipe. And my grandma has her date loaf recipe published in here. This is like a little bit of a golden treasure for me and to be able to have this. So it's been in my family since 1972. And there was something in the front of the book that I thought I would read before I get into this recipe, because it kind of made a little bit of a tear in my eye, but also a smile in my eye. And it says, take time for 10 things. Take time to work. It's the price of success. Take time to think. It's the source of power. Take time to play. It's the secret of youth. Take time to read. It's the fountain of knowledge. Take time to worship. It's the heaven or highway of reverence and washes the dust of the earth from your eyes. Take time to help and enjoy friends. It's the source of happiness. Take time to love. It's the one sacrament of life. Take time to dream. It hitches the soul to the stars. Take time to laugh. It's singing that helps the life's loads. Take time to plan. It's the secret of being able to have time to take time for the first 9 things. Amazing, good words of wisdom even for today. So I'm going to do a bit of a riff, which means kicked up or twist, what my mom does. But when I take a look at my ingredients, there's definitely some constants that makes a base for a really good meatloaf. So in my mom's recipe, she had, I'm from a very large family, so this is going to make a big meatloaf. 2.5 pounds of hamburger, 1 pound of sausage meat, some carrots, 2 small onions, some breadcrumb or rolled oats, 2 eggs, garlic salt, onion salt, and salt and pepper. That was my mom's recipe. And now I'm going to show you what's going to be in my recipe. I'm going to tilt the camera just down just a little smidge. So I have in my bowl, ready to go, a pound of JD Farms ground turkey and a pound of Johnson's ground pork. Both of these are local products, of course, JD Farms, just down in Langley. So I've got my ground meat ready to go. And I'm going to build this, but I'm not going to mix it yet because we're going to do the inside first, the little secret twist that I'm going to do on the inside first. So ahead of time, I took 1 small carrot and 1 stick of celery with a little touch of olive oil and a little pepper, and I've already sauteed these up. The reason why I want to do this is I want a little bit of a head start in here. And I find that sometimes it doesn't cook thoroughly if it's just was raw going in here. Or you could grate the carrot, as it says in my mom's recipe. I want to see the little pieces of carrot and the celery within my my minced meat here. So in that goes. Okay. Now, in my mom's recipe, there was rolled oats or breadcrumbs. So I have taken, this was 3/4 cup of oats with a cup of milk to soften the oats up. I did a teaspoon of the JD Farms turkey rub in here. I've had this kind of marinating or soaking up for about an hour. So there's a teaspoon of the turkey rub in there. I happen to have from Epicure a turkey spice. There's a teaspoon of that in there. And I have a teaspoon of minced garlic in here as well. So that's been kind of marrying up. That's going to go in. What that's going to do is help bind it and have it into the loaf. The milk is going to make sure that this is a very tender and moist meatloaf. Okay, I've got 1 egg. My mom's recipe says for 2, but I've got that milk in there, so 1 will be just fine. I get my egg cracked. Okay. In that goes. And I don't need a shell in there. Okay. I'm going to set this aside. And I've got a quarter of an onion. And you'll see my onion is fresh. And I'd like a fresh onion in here. But I want it to get all over this meatloaf. So I don't want to cut it up. I want to grate it. So I've just got a kind of a standard grater. And this is going to make sure I get even distribution of onion throughout this whole meatloaf. Instead of coming across big chunks of onion, I don't want a big chunk of onion as I'm eating my meatloaf. And I kept this little piece of onion in the fridge, so this is why I'm not crying. Okay. So altogether, that's probably, I'm going to say, 3 tablespoons of grated onion. That's going to go in the meatloaf. Okay. So that's basically done for the meatloaf until I mix it up. But now here comes the little bit of a twist that I like to do. So you can see my bowl. We have an amazing store in Fort Langley called Cranberries Naturally. So this is about 1/3 of a cup of dried cranberries. So what we're kind of doing is putting the cranberry sauce inside the meatloaf, but another couple of things, which is kind of cool. So that's going in there. I have 1 small apple. And you're like, apple? So we're almost making a bit of a cranberry relish that's going to be in the center. And it's going to serve a couple of purposes. Oh, I might start crying. I hope I don't, because that was pretty pungent, that onion. And of course, it's all over my my knife that I'm now using. Get the seeds out of the way. It's going. Having the stuffing inside is also going to help with the moisture of this meatloaf, kind of coming from the inside. So as these apples are starting to cook down, they're going to release some moisture that's going to come up into the meatloaf. So just cutting it up a little bit small. Oh, really, guys? I hope I don't start to cry. Pardon me if I'm sniffing. I don't have allergies. It's just the onion is starting to make me, a little weepy. But I'm good. We just had my family, and I hope your family does FaceTimes and Zooms. I have a sister that lives in Ontario and an aunt that lives in Ontario, and my mom and my sister. I have a sister that lives in Beijing, but she's now home. And I have a brother who's in Edmonton, and a brother in Langley, and a brother in Abbotsford. And we were able just to kind of Zoom, and it was kind of fun. And I hope you guys do that as well, because it makes, and being able to connect and hear each other and our faces, it was a lot of fun. So in goes that apple. Now here comes kind of a bit of an interesting twist. I don't know about you, but my mom and my grandma always put that tray of pickles on the table, and nobody ate them. Very few people eat them. So I'm going to put a bit of the pickle. So I have this jardiniere, and I just spilled some on the floor. Oh, hope you guys didn't see that. I'm going to take, maybe some of the cauliflower, a bit of the, a bit of cauliflower, a bit of the pickle. Okay. This is probably going to chop up to be, altogether about 1/3 of this pickled vegetable. So if you can kind of think the sweetness and tartness of that apple, and then the pickliness of the jardiniere that's going into it. You could just use dill pickle if you wanted to. You could use, I would say a dill. You don't want a sweet pickle in here. So there we go. We've got our relish that's going to go in the center. Okay, so that's ready. So now let's get back to creating the meatloaf. And you know what? Any good chef knows it's their hands are the best tools. And the reason why I love using my hands and not gloves, my hands are very, very clean, is I want to be able to feel the meat and feel how it's binding together, because you never want to overmix a meatloaf, okay? Just going to go double check my hands and get, I have a little bit of stickiness off. So watch my meatloaf. I'll be right back. Okay, so we've got in here the mince, the oatmeal, the egg, the sauteed up vegetables. And this may seem like a very wet mixture, and that's okay. Because once you bake this and that oatmeal kind of cooks up, it's going to stabilize it. If you didn't have oatmeal, you could use breadcrumb, 3/4 of a cup of that breadcrumb. Okay, this is coming together very nicely, and the smell is just, oh, it's just heavenly. I'm smelling that turkey rub spice in there. And that's about it. You might be able to see that I've just mixed it. It's very homogenized, if that's such a word, when you're making meatloaf. But it is kind of a bit of a sticky meatloaf. And that's really okay. Okay, that's there. I'm gonna go wash my hand. I'll be right back again. Always having a bench cloth. And before I do the roll out and teach you how to roll it up, we got to prepare our pan. Got a standard loaf pan. This is a non-stick pan. You could put the meatloaf right into this. I find sometimes it's hard to get out and you want it to come out nice and easy. So let's prepare our pan. I've got your standard parchment paper. And what we want to do is kind of create what's called a sling. Where, let me move that out of the way for a second. So I'm taking a look at how wide my pan is. And I just want to take my parchment paper and fold it like so. And then tuck that inside. Just for now, just like that. Okay? Because when it's baked, I'll be able to pull this out and it's going to be easier for me to slice for dinner. Awesome. So that's easy. Now, the next secret is wax paper. This is where I want to put my meatloaf, and it will be a lot easier for me to roll up. So down goes my meatloaf, my meat mixture. Okay, this makes a big one. When I said this is a family feast, this will definitely feed a lot. So I'm just pressing it out. If anybody's got any questions, please feel free. I can answer any questions about JD Farms. They're amazing turkey products. I am flattening this out to about, I would say, 1/2 inch, maybe 1/3 of an inch along. Okay, I'm making a nice little rectangle. Okay. Yeah, that's good. Kind of keeping it away from the side of the wax paper. So this is now maybe about 10 inches wide and about, I would say, 13 inches long, maybe. Okay. So now I take that apple and pickle and cranberry mixture. And immediately it's starting to smell like Christmas in here for some reason. Could be all these amazing spices. So I'm just patting that down. And I'm not going all the way to the end. Maybe I can pull this back. The wax paper. If you can kind of see. I'm not going all the way to the end. I'm leaving about 1.5 inches because when I roll it, I'm going to need to seal it. So this is the key piece. I pick it up, my wax paper, and I'm just using my hand to keep it rolling. Keeping it rolling. Watching my ends. Keeping it rolling. Watching my ends. Pulling it down a little bit more. Oops, my paper's starting to tear there. Pulling it down. Okay. And tucking it in. And now I'm going to lift it up. I'm going to wash my hands because they're a little gooky. Okay. I'm going to lift it up. Get my pan ready to go in. So it's one big move. Give this a turn. And roll it right into my pan. pulling that wax paper. Okay. You might have to move it around just a little bit. Okay, perfect. Nice big meatloaf in there. Okay, that's ready to go. On the top, I'm going to do a bit of a sweet, tangy sauce to go on top. I'm going to get rid of my board here because it's got raw turkey meat on it. Okay. So I've got it, this was from a can of tomato paste. About a tablespoon of tomato paste. And this is some from the Olive Junction. This is a garlic, sage, cilantro, balsamic vinegar, about a tablespoon of that. What this is going to do is kind of seal those juices in. Mixing that around. And it's going to give a lovely color on the top when it's cooking. We come back, we want to make it a little fancy. Make a couple of just slices across the top. Okay. Take our mixture. Hopefully you guys can see. Let me just back up just a little smidge. Take our mixture of that tomato paste and that balsamic that has garlic, cilantro, sage. Perfect flavors for a turkey meatloaf. That's just enough. You don't want to use too much of this on the top because then it can burn. Just going to take my spatula and tuck this in a bit. Make it a little bit more of a loaf shape. And I'm going to take my scissors, wherever my scissors went. Oh, here they are. And let me just cut off this little bit extra. Okay. So there we have it. Oh, this is a hefty meatloaf. Bring you back up here. So this is a big, hefty, enough for a feast. A family could eat half of this and then cut it up. I'm actually going to bake this tomorrow. I'll put it in my fridge with a piece of plastic wrap on the top. Oh, excuse me, my onions, my eyes are watering from that great onion that I put in. Get the punny great onion in here. And then I will take this out for an hour before I bake it. Because remember, I don't want to put a cold meatloaf into the hot oven. It'll take too long and it'll bring down the temperature of your oven. So this is probably going to bake for at least an hour, maybe an hour and 20 minutes because it's so big. I will take my internal thermometer and I'll test it at about, see if it gets to about 175 temperature-wise, and then take it out of the oven. So there you go. There is a family feast. Bit of a riff on my mom's meatloaf. It's got the carrots in there. It's got the onions in there. It's got the oats in there. Just a little twist with the spices and the inside. So I hope you enjoyed tonight. Oh, do you have the recipe posted somewhere? You know what? I'll take a picture of my mom's recipe and I'll put it up on the comments. So thank you so much, Jacqueline, for that answer. And then I'll put below it kind of what I did in the middle with the 1 apple, the 1/3 of a cup of cranberries, and what else? Oh, and the 1/3 of a cup of the pickle, the garden mixed pickle. And I'll put that up. So thank you for that question. So I hope you guys make this. It's really good. It's a great family feast. Makes good sandwiches afterwards. I'll take the leftovers and slice it up and wrap it up so it's nice and easy for a nice quick meatloaf sandwich. From my home in South Langley, thank you so much for coming along. God bless. From the JD Farms family of Jack, Jason, Marilyn, and Jennifer, and all their kids and stuff, and the amazing employees at JD Farms and the Turkey Farm, the Turkey Bistro and store. We just want you to be safe. We want you to eat good, healthful food. We want you to, oh my goodness, my nose is running. I'm so sorry. We want you to be tucked in at home, making incredible memories, so we have you as customers for years and years and years and years to come. So enjoy your weekend, everybody. I'll take a picture of this now, and then tomorrow when it comes out of the oven, I'll take another picture, and so you can see what it looks like done, and with it also sliced, so you can see what it looks like inside. So enjoy. Thank you for coming along, and tune in next week. I think I'm going to be back on Tuesday. Okay? Talk to you later. Bye-bye.